Hey guys. So I've been getting into the Transformers Beast Wars extended universe for some time now, after the announcement of the Rise of the Beasts movie, obviously. So yeah, everybody loves the Wars and Beast Machines. I actually like Beast Machines a lot more. And over some period last year, I actually discovered the Japanese version of Beast Wars as well, which is it's a gap filler thing between the the end of Beast Wars, but beginning of the Beast Machines. So this is something that happens between Beast Wars and Beast Machines. The Japanese version has an entirely unique team with a frog, a squid, a buffalo, a Tasmanian devil that doesn't really fit into Japanese mythology. But as you all know, Japanese people, especially Okinawan or whatever, they eat a lot of seafood because, they're surrounded by ocean and fishing is a big part of their culture. So the squid and sharks and various other kind of characters that you would see in Power Rangers and all that, they have a lot of influence on Japanese culture as well. Like Japanese kids, they find these jokes to be really funny. So you have a Kakashi type squid or a Jiraiya type squid who's silent and he sometimes talks in haikus and stuff. And then the stereotypical buffalo in Japanese and Chinese culture is they're very strong, they're very hot headed, they're very stubborn. They actually represent the element earth as well. And well, what they say is it's really hard to get the buffalo moving. It's really hard to get the buffalo to do stuff. But once you get it to stand up and wake up and cooperate, it's gonna be unrelentless in its. So yeah, either way, it doesn't change its mind. So it's stubborn to not start something, and it's stubborn to stop something unless it's his decision. So you got to get him to decide that he wants to do it himself. Also, the Tasmanian Kid, as I mentioned earlier, is not a Japanese character, but then neither are elephants or lions or wolves. But, those characters are kind of more apparent in Native American stuff or, you know, pretty much Tarzan and stuff. So those are big animals. But it's interesting that they chose the Tasmanian devil, who only exists in a tiny part of Australia, not even in all of Australia, but in a very tiny part, and made him the protagonist. Like it's their brand of irony. And while I was reading the comics, I also found some copycat kind of creatures. One was Razor Beast. Now, to compare Razor Beast to Tasmanian Kid doesn't make much sense because Razor Beast is inspired by a boar, and Tasmanian Kid is inspired by a Tasmanian devil. But Tasmanian devil is an animal that you find in another it's a motif, not an animal that you find, but it's a motif that you find in another character called the stealth functions are in Snarl. So Snarl and Tasmania Kid, both of these guys were inspired by the same animal motif, but their power set and their personalities and everything else are completely different. The robot modes are completely different. However, Razor Beast and Tasmania Kid, when they transform in their robot mode, I find certain aesthetical similarities. Also, their roles or their niche in their particular universe are kind of similar. They're the accidental hero, they're the screw ups, they're the all of that. Well, Razor Beast is actually less of a screw up than Tasmania Kid, but As I mentioned earlier, it's their brand of irony. Like he becomes the accidental hero in the Japanese cartoon by, stumbling upon something that essentially serves as the plot device or the McGinnis or whatever. And yeah, so that's and then the squids and the pterodactyls. So on the side of the Predacons, I noticed two very similar. In fact, in this image, it says right here they're visually identical. So the two characters here in question are Laserbeak and what's his name? Yeah, you can see it on the screen right here. So Laserbeak and another pterodactyl inspired character. Also, there's a third pterodactyl here, but only the first two have very similar looking features. Like, their colors, their weapons, the way they stand. The only visual differences are Laserbeak has red socks or, red shins, while the other guy has white shins. And I think the inside of their wings are a little different, but the colors and the designs are very similar, but their method of operations or their ways of attacking someone, the strategies that they have, and the personalities that they carry are very different. So, as you can see, the Bombarder here on the right side, he prefers to, so his battle tactics are to sneak up on someone before, but he only has one battle tactic. And as you can see in his quote, he says, "Each day I'm getting better," which is like he has kind of an inferior complex, I guess, and he doesn't believe in himself. While Laserbeak, the guy on the left, is very sure of himself. He says he wants to fry the circuits out of the Maximals, like the heating point or the melting point, something. Another couple of characters that are very similar are Clawjaw and Scuba. So Scuba is actually listed next to another squid character called Scylla, but these two characters are very different. Scylla's a female, Scylla's a pirate. Scylla is not even the same color as Scuba. But Clawjaw and Scuba, there's also another character called Ika, which in Japanese means squid. But it turns out that Scuba and Ika are cousins. It is mentioned somewhere in the Wikipedias. Scuba keeps to himself, according to Tasmania Devil in the anime, and Clawjaw's card over here says that he is a weirdo sort of person. Like, although he's one of the Maximals, he has some brain damage, which makes him act more on the beast mode side. A couple of the Maximals have that actually. A couple of the hero Maximals have, even Wolfang, I think, prefers to be in beast mode more. Or was it Tigatron? The more heroic ones, they prefer the beast mode more than the robot mode. Although, these are Transformers and by default they are robots pretending to be something else, pretending to be a truck or pretending to be a wolf or a tiger or whatever. So yeah, that's that according to I made some comparisons because like these guys are basically twins. Laserbeak and the other pterodactyl guy and Scuba and Clawjaw. It is confirmed that Scuba and Clawjaw are pretty much like alternate versions of the same character. Aesthetically, they are very similar, but personality-wise, that's where they change. Same thing with the pterodactyls. One is very sure of themselves, and the other is they've got an inferior complex, always trying to outdo themselves, like try to get better at certain stuff. It's alright to have multiple scorpions, multiple beetles or insects, because there's so much variation in the insect group. Pretty much the widest variety of any species or class or order is recorded in beetles, insects. Yeah, they've got like half the circle of all the species in the world actually goes to them. Not by number, but by variation. So it makes sense to have multiple insect themed or insect inspired characters. There's a whole battalion of insect dudes, and you've got some on the bad side, some on the good side also. So it is very necessary to kind of group them in different sides as well, because otherwise you're saying, this bug looks evil, I don't like it, therefore it is evil. It is evil and never redeemable. You can never had a good mosquito. But it's when you include the same animal motif on both sides, you're saying it's okay, like, just like with the mutants, just like with X-Men and the Brotherhood of Mutants, you can have mutants being good or bad. It's not what you are that defines you, it's what you do, sort of thing. It's your morals, not your appearance or your physical. Yeah, so when you band in a team, sometimes the outcasts get to band together, band with a D, all right? As in the insects, they may be shunned from both groups and would have to, like, form their own group. In that case, it's all right to have a whole insect themed battalion, but they don't always have to be evil. They could be mercenaries. They could be, work on both sides at different times, that sort of thing. All right, so that's that. I just wanted to ask you guys like a little question. Have y'all seen Tasmania Kid and Razor Beast in the same room? As in, do you think that these guys are the same character that exists in parallel, or, when I say parallel, I mean they do not coincide. So, Tasmania Kid's in the anime. I don't know if he's appeared in the comics, and Razor Beast does not exist anywhere outside of the comics. So, is that the same character but two different versions that exist in different places? Up to you to decide, and I would really like to get your opinion that on that one so I could form mine. Thanks, guys.